Art.
All right. We're up and running.
Yep, we're good to go.
Okay. Usually, no. Usually Kevin's a little more enthusiastic with the music. And he's like, well, they're going to. But now you were, but literally this time you were like this.
Oh, what?
Like you were annoyed with what was going on right now.
I didn't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, you didn't do that. Welcome to Street Smart Christian. I'm your host, Adam, with my guest host, Brandon. We have special.
He's not even in the camera.
All right.
I'm on a camera. Marker.
Here we go. Welcome to Street Smart Christian with my host, Kevin. I'm Adam. We have a special guest today.
Yeah.
Kevin, why don't you introduce our guest? You forgot his name.
You do this every time. I'm not the introducer, man.
All right. I know. I had to do it on purpose.
Who better to introduce themselves than themselves? That's not how podcasts work.
That's how a cop-out works. We have a special guest today, Antone Sellers. Antone, the young man that's been involved in our church for a number of years. He played the drums.
You've grown up here, huh?
He grew up in the church.
Yep.
He was a outstanding member in the FCA in Calhan. He graduated from Calhan High School. He's now in did flight school.
You did it already.
I'm not done yet.
No, he's not done, but he worked with the bass player in our worship team,
Monty.
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan.
Monty?
I didn't know Monty flew planes, but...
Yeah. You didn't know Ryan?
I know Ryan did.
Yeah. So he's been working with that. Welcome to the podcast, Antone.
Thank you. Happy to be
welcome.
here.
Round of applause with our live studio audience.
Yes, thank you.
Happy to have you here, Antone.
Thank you.
Hey, there it is. Dang, you guys are slow. Since I lost my button privileges.
So, a couple of things that we're going to touch on today is I've been putting out individual videos for Street Smart Christian on a little bit of devotionals, 365 days of Do Not Fear, doing some Bible stuff online. I put out there on Snapchat and everything else that I wanted questions, people to bring us questions and stuff like that to help me grow in the ministry. And so I'm just not doing, us, but us would include you putting out videos too.
Ooh, shots fired. I don't do it either.
I gave you the microphone.
Bro, I lost it.
All right. Either way, I started doing that, and Antone, out of nowhere, on Snapchat, submitted a question.
A good one.
And he says we should address women behind the pulpit. Now, me and you have kind of done a little bit of a podcast on that.
I know it was like our first or second.
It was
done a couple times.
It was right about the middle, and me and you have talked about it because we've both experienced situations where people that we knew or people that we were hanging out with felt a different or a kind of way about that. And I hear where he's coming from because it seems like lately in social media, on YouTube, in just
the
life
world
in general, the world is really pushing this issue. I've listened to a lot of different prestigious theologians, different pastors, different biblical scholars, and I've sent you some videos of their points of view with a well-known biblical scholar that, went and got all of his doctorates through everything and then tried to explain his way out of women behind the pulpit, women in leadership in the church. I mean, there's so many different angles that people... I remember really young in my faith, and I say that by saying just a few years ago, young in my faith, not meaning young in age, I put out a thing that John MacArthur had probably himself didn't put on Facebook, but his team put a quote from John MacArthur. And I thought, well, John MacArthur said it. It's got to be true, right? And so I put it out there, and he put that women preachers were an abomination to the Christian faith. Women preachers, and it was really harsh.
It's brutal.
But I'm like, well, I'm young gun at the faith. And boy, did I get ripped apart one way and down the other. You are speaking about a time when Paul not only wrote to the Corinthians, but he wrote to Timothy and he wrote to Titus. You know, the entire book of Titus and the entire books of Timothy is how to establish the church. This is when he's building the church and how every role in the church is supposed to go. She said, well, you're speaking of a time when women were thought less than men. This is the time. And Paul, had whatever feelings
Were they,
he
though?
had. That's what I'm trying to get at now, is that Paul wrote these letters. And Paul had something against women. Paul also was the one who wrote that if you can take the road of not being married, then take that. Yeah, don't. But if you can't control your sexual urges, you can't control this and that, then yes, get married. But if you can control that, then it's better to not be married.
Interesting.
Now, either way, there's a lot of people that argue the fact that Paul, when he was establishing all these churches during that time, he had a less than or lesser view of women at the time. Because in 2 Corinthians, he talks about the women's role being you keep your mouth shut in church. You stay silent.
I mean,
if you have any questions, you don't bring them up in church. You wait till you get home and you ask your husband.
Oh,
You ask your husband, right?
we just plugged back in our brains, dude.
So that's that role. And then in Timothy, he talks about, women are to keep silent in the church.
Cover your head.
Cover your head. Don't braid your hair. Don't wear make all that stuff, right? There's a lot of that stuff that you don't do.
Yeah.
So there's so much to unpack here. When me and you have talked about this before, and we've listened to a bunch of people. But when he presented this question, I was like, I was gonna do it on one of them videos in the backdrop and all that, and address this. But then I prayed about it, and I'm like, and then you just happened to, hey, can I be a part of you guys' youth group and everything? I'm like, well, perfect. The guy that led me to the gallows will be here on the podcast, maybe, and we're all going to go to the gallows together. But there's so many different opinions on this, especially in the generations, not only for me, you, Brandon, but Antone's generation that's even younger than us, more, closer to your generation. But this is a really touchy subject. Like I said, in 2 Corinthians, it talks about women keep their mouths shut. I listened to a good Bible teacher, Alan Parr, that I've shared with you.
Yeah, he's
and
good.
he talked about it, and he agreed with the biblical teachings of the leadership role in the church. However, he thought when it came to keeping silent in church, that may have been due to the culture to the Corinthians at the time. Maybe there was things getting really messed up, and the women at the time in Corinth.
Well, there was a time in the Bible where there were prostitutes in the church.
Right.
I mean, that was like a common practice.
So when it comes to
literally, you could pay at the church. Like that makes no sense to me.
Where I agreed with Brother Parr was women keeping completely silent in church. I don't agree with that, because I think that women do have a voice in the church.
Right. So
now that
voice,
voice, Antone.
Antone.
Don't ever
Sorry,
mess up
dude.
his name again.
I'm sorry, bro. When you bring that question to us, I'm assuming that you've done your research on it too, right? Have you read anything about it that really sticks out to you?
Yes.
I mean, it's a tough topic.
It is.
I
It's
mean,
a really hard topic, but that's
Mhm.
why it's so intriguing to me, because when I look at it, through FFA, I've known a lot of great
Mhm.
speakers, great leaders, and a lot of them are female.
Yeah, right.
So then I'm thinking, okay, well, and so that's kind of where that's kind of what initiated that thought.
Yeah.
But then you go and you read in 1 Corinthians, it talks about how, men
First
are the head of the
Corinthians,
church.
not second. My bad.
And then
Timestamp.
men are the head of women.
Mhm.
And, talking about I'm not even going to misquote the Bible. I was looking at it just to make sure.
Yeah, you got it, bro. Right there. I don't even know what I did with my actual Bible.
Perfect. There it is.
I had to study today.
Bro,
so-
Brennan, pull it up, dude.
Dude, where's it at? What are we even paid for, dude?
We didn't put my screen up yet.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, baby. It's right there, dude.
Do you get a paycheck from your dad?
Yeah.
Do you even pay rent?
Yeah.
No, you get a TV, bro.
I do pay rent.
Just kidding, man. All right. Sorry about that, Antone.
No, it's fine. I was just, in 1 Corinthians here is talking about how, but I want you to realize that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. And every man,
Yeah, it's like a ladder.
yeah, it shows the order. And then it talks about, like how in the church, the men are the head of the church. And so then women, or the head of women, still man, right?
Mhm.
And so then that brings up the question, like we were asking, okay, well, where's the place
Just
of women?
back it up, dude.
Let
The
him
bill
talk.
of your
Let
hat
him
is
talk.
in his face right now.
No, it's fine. And so then it brings up the question, okay, well, where is the place of women in the church, right? And so I actually had this discussion with my parents, because once again, I bring up the idea of like, all right, so my mom is someone who's very insightful on the Bible. She always brings in a different perspective and
She
kind of
studies
allows me.
it. And,
Yes, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
My sister is also very knowledgeable of the Bible, right? And then there's, other people, I don't know if I can name them or not.
If you
But-
do and you don't want them, we'll beep them out.
Right. So other
Make it
people
sound
I
like
know.
you're just cursing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love that. No. But then there's other women I know, and they're
My
very
mom teaches Bible. Beep, 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 beep.
yeah. This person, just
Yeah.
But anyway, these other people I know, they're very knowledgeable about the Bible. Some of the
Mhm.
greatest public speakers I've ever heard in my life,
Yeah.
and they're female.
for
So I'm
sure.
thinking, why wouldn't God want to use them to deliver the word? And so
Right.
then, when I was talking about it with my parents, we kind of came to a conclusion, and it wasn't that they can't deliver
The message.
the message, right, but not from behind the pulpit.
Right.
Right. So then women have a leadership role in youth groups, in children's church, or
Mhm.
like I look at somebody like Sadie Robertson, right? She's giving speeches in front of, an arena of people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
No, well, you wouldn't. So that's all right.
But-
I know who you're talking about.
And so is
We'll
she in
put
the
a
wrong
picture.
for
She's
doing
the
that?
F. The F. That.
Nope. We'll put her picture up.
Okay.
But is she in the wrong for doing that?
No.
And so then we were talking about it. Well, it's not from behind the pulpit.
No.
Right. And so that's where the deciding factor
Mhm.
is, where it's delivered. And because she's delivering her speech, a pastor's delivering a sermon. And
Yeah.
I think
Right,
that's the
right.
difference.
So, just to piggyback off of what you're saying with that, I've been to a lot of men's Bible studies. I've been to a lot of studies here at the church that just include men, and a lot of times the topic is women and their leadership role anywhere. There's some people that think that men are the leaders of everything,
Yeah.
and women are always supposed to be. So those men will think that there shouldn't be a woman president. There shouldn't be a woman vice president, a governor, so on and so forth. So that always stuck. I'm like, well, then, man.
That
Where
is
does
that
that
is a
end?
hard segue.
And so
too.
I got married to my wife, and I'm like, she's so good at so many
Yeah, she's
things.
a teacher.
And yeah, well, that was okay
Mhm.
because they're teaching kids. But I'm like, man, I take so much of what my wife. So I started doing systematic theology classes and Bible studies with a guy that goes to church here. And he's very knowledgeable and he's very hard nosed when it comes to these things. I mean, he is so hard nosed, like, women wear head coverings, this and that. I'm like, this is the perfect guy to ask about women's leadership. And so I waited a while, but then I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring this up and just let him smoke me with this. Like, tell your wife to shut her mouth and don't ever, And I asked him, and he's like, yeah, in the church. In the church, women aren't supposed to lead men.
Spiritually.
In the church.
Yeah, see,
outside of the church, there are women, and he said, that are way more intelligent than
qualified.
Men, way more qualified, and this and that. So in the job, like at your job, a woman can be your boss.
Yeah, I mean, I have that. I have a boss, female boss, and she's probably been the best boss I've ever had.
Run the country is not running the church.
Right.
So a woman can run the country. So that's where it gets twisted, is when we start talking about women behind the pulpit, women automatically take defense, saying that guys are saying that you can't do anything. And that's simply not the case.
I mean, it's hard not to do that, because if you're not allowed to do this, then you want to assume it's the worst, right? We all do that. Men, women, kids, all of us as humans. I mean, but like I said, I have a female boss, and she's a great leader. She knows her stuff. We work,
and so
with important things, and I trust whatever she says. You know what I mean? And
people,
it's one of those things.
Theologians, people in the church and this and that, they take.
Did you just fart over there?
Passages like 1 Timothy 2:12.
No.
I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over men. Rather, she is to remain quiet, period. That's what it says in 1 Timothy. So they're like, well, that's it. What they don't understand is that's Paul's letter to Timothy building the church.
The church specifically, yeah.
Right.
In the church.
Do you think Timothy took that and was like, yeah, I'm going to lay down the law?
Well, he did it with Timothy. Well, Timothy didn't want to at all, because he was in his 30s, and he's like, nobody's going to listen to me. I'm too young. I'm only in my 30s. And Paul's like, no, this is. So when I got attacked by the female from the Methodist church, I said, no, that's just the way.
Verbally.
She attacked you?
Verbally attacked.
Come on,
Okay.
dude. It sounds like you made it sound like she jumped you on the street.
Everybody, if they've been listening, they know what I'm talking about. Said the things that she said, and said that this is just Paul's point of view. Well, then we should go from Romans, Acts and just get rid of the whole until Revelation. Get rid of that, because everything is Paul's point of view then, and nothing should be like, if the whole Bible is inspired by God, and God breathed, then obviously it's not. We should stop after John, and just get rid of the rest of it, because it doesn't matter. It would be just like our Jewish brothers and sisters saying that we're going to stop right before Matthew.
Yeah, right,
because
Christ,
none of that matters.
Which is what they do.
None of it's real. So if we're going to start splitting hairs on how Paul feels, read the Old Testament, because how Saul feels, how Joshua feels, there was a lot of guys that did a lot of bad things, that had a lot of different feelings, not only over females, but over people that didn't agree with them. David,
not
all
Joshua.
of them.
I don't think Joshua did anything wrong, did he?
I don't know.
The dude went to jail.
You could
running away from adultery.
Right. Well, just anybody in the Bible could have had their own point of view over anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And we could say, well, I like what Joshua said, but I don't like what David said.
Right.
Yeah.
I like what Moses said, but I don't really agree with Noah. Why didn't he get dinosaurs and unicorns on the ark?
Right. No, and that's piggybacking off of that. That's exactly right. Because if you start nitpicking, you start
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, this isn't right, but this is," that would invalidate the whole Bible.
Yeah,
The entire thing.
Invalidate the entire
The
thing.
same biblical scholar that I sent to Kevin that was arguing the fact that the Bible contradicts itself by saying that there is no biblical proof that specifically says women can't be preachers. That is true because preacher wasn't, I don't think, in the Bible, in the Hebrew or the Greek. The word preacher, which is just teacher, wasn't
it's rabbi.
in the Bible.
Which rabbi is teaching?
He's like, well, and then he also said that, well, if women aren't supposed to lead men, then why was Mary Magdalene an apostle? So that led me to go into the scriptures. Nowhere in the Bible does it say Mary Magdalene was an apostle.
Right.
She was, yes, the first person to see Christ risen.
Yeah.
And he told her, go and tell the other apostles and John about what you've seen. He didn't say, hey, apostle Mary, go tell the other apostles. No, he said, Mary, go tell the other apostles. That would be like me saying, Antone, go tell my friends what you saw. Does that mean I said, Antone, my friend?
Right. That's like Anton, you're my best friend now. Go tell my other friends.
Yes.
That's
So
not,
that doesn't, yeah, it kind of points towards Jesus was saying, Mary,
he hates me.
you're an apostle, so go tell the other apostles.
Can he just be your friend, dude? He just wants
He's
to be your
already
friend.
my
I just want to be your friend.
I mean, I know you keep blocking him with your bill of your hat, but
Ah, jeez.
Sorry, I'm not much.
Fine,
I got a
dude.
face for radio, you know?
a lot of our listeners are just listeners,
Yeah.
Not seers.
not but yeah, what? What's
Viewers.
Viewers.
the- viewers.
Yeah.
Sorry to our viewers out there.
We love you guys.
We love you guys. Adam kind of does.
Adam lives for views.
The thing that I took away, though, from the whole thing is, biblically speaking, it says clearly women aren't supposed to take the role behind the pulpit to lead the church. It says that. However, it doesn't say that there isn't any significance to the women role in the church. Women.
No, it's huge in the church, man. I mean,
it's just like men.
it's the lifeblood
Right.
behind it, like
Women are supposed to raise up their kids in the word.
I don't know about you guys, but I can't plan for much.
And that's women have
You know what I'm
such
saying?
a
Like-
significant role in everyday life. Just like we're supposed to love our wives like Christ loved the church.
yeah.
That's pretty huge.
So I can go through.
We're supposed to give the same
And go
amount of
throw
love
tables?
to them as they. Yeah. What?
Oh.
No. Women are to raise up the little ones in the way of Christ. Women have a huge role in children's church, youth group, women's conferences.
yeah, man. it's
Huge.
women's
Sadie
ministry.
Robinson talks in huge groups. Like he said, she's not behind the pulpit, preaching on this is what you have to do, follow this or you're screwed. There's a difference between Sadie Robinson and Beth Moore.
Right.
The other gal, I forgot her name.
Brandon, who is it?
That's fine.
You both look at him and he just looks
But
away. I'm doing
there's a
typing.
huge difference between somebody who has a church, but and that's not to say there isn't men that are out there that are supposed to be behind the pulpit either.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them that shouldn't be.
It's a
yeah.
calling,
Yeah.
and so there's a huge role for women in the church, outside of the church, in leadership. It's just not behind the pulpit. Just like there's things that men can't do.
What are your thoughts on that, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'd always heard women shouldn't be behind the pulpit. And I remember when I was in Fort Collins, I found what I thought was a good church, and then all of a sudden they had a woman pastor up there, and it made me be like, wait, that's not like following the Bible, right? Like that's because
And that's not saying that she wasn't well versed
right.
or did not know her Bible.
And like you said, it's funny because, at this church, whenever they do like a women's conference or something, it's not like they don't call her a pastor. She's a speaker.
Mhm.
So like you said, there's a difference between, someone being behind the pulpit, giving a sermon rather than a speech.
I mean, it's the same thing at a women's conference. There isn't a male speaker.
Yeah, that would be weird,
That
right?
would be a little bit.
They wouldn't.
It's the
None of
same
them
at
would
a-
like that. They'd be like, "Nah, dude."
At a men's
Right.
conference,
What do you
there
know
isn't
about
a
giving birth?
female speaker.
Relatability.
You know what I mean? So, what I don't want us to lose female listeners or,
Yeah,
Whatever.
we already did, bro. It's done.
well, Antone
That's our
took
only
us by the
listeners.
hand and said, I see you guys are gaining numbers in your podcast.
Yeah,
Let me walk you right in front of the shooting spot.
right
and
under
let
the
this be
guillotine.
But
No, it's good, dude. I
but
mean,
here's what I want to know. Antone, you're the youngest among the group.
the youngest among us.
How, not just in leadership in general, how is this perceived in your generation? How is this perceived? I mean, obviously, I think your sister's probably been brought up to know that and okay with the fact that she's not going to be a preacher of a church.
What's the female version of pastor?
There-
Different word.
No, there is no.
Pastor.
Pastor means teacher.
Pastora.
No, it's not like female and male.
Profesora.
But how was this, like, you were in a leadership role in the FFA.
Mhm.
Obviously you spoke of great leadership in females, but if it was down to you guys hanging out talking about the pastoral roles, I don't know if that's ever happened, but what, even in FCA in high school and stuff like that, when you guys are building each other up, I mean, that's the goal, right? To build each other up in Christ. And then all of a sudden, yes, ladies, you can go this far, but this is where it stops. I mean, how is that perceived in as far as you've seen?
So, as far as my officer team, goes, I was very blessed to have or to be surrounded by ladies and gentlemen who were very like-minded, and so they were very much on the same page when it came to that.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say but then as far as like a culture, I think people my age see it more as a political issue than a biblical issue.
It's very politicized
Yes,
nowadays. I mean, it's a talking point
it is.
across the board.
It is. It's becoming more of a social justice thing instead of what does God want from us, right? Because people, instead of saying, you know what, not people, ladies, instead of me being front and center, I'm going to be the most important part of a man's life and be that supporting force.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it talks about, Paul says, if you have the gift of singleness, that's the key word to that. If you have the gift of singleness, then you're better off not marrying.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us do not.
Yeah.
And so we need that lady behind us
Mm-hmm.
to support us in marriage, whether that's spiritually, physically, emotionally. I mean, through
Right,
everything.
So there it is right there. I mean, they're spiritually supporting their husband.
Right.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
And you would think that people would be like, well, women can't spiritually do that, right? That's what this Bible is saying. No, it's from behind the head,
Mhm.
the ladders, like you said.
Right.
Yeah. I like that, dude.
Yeah. So I think it's seen more as a cultural issue instead of what does God want from us? Because a lot of times, and I know I do this too. I'm not saying
Yeah,
people,
no one.
as I do this too, but it's, well, what do I think is best? Well,
Mhm.
God made us. He knows what's best for us. And so we need to do what he says because he knows what we need. We
He knows
think
what's
we do.
best, bro.
Right. And so, for the female position, I truly believe is the most important piece, but they're from a behind the scenes supporting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was very well spoken.
Much better than what you
Thank
and
you for
Kevin
tuning
say
in to
all the
Street
time.
Smart Christian.
You just talk over our producer. Is that just what you do, bro?
He's not even doing
He was
half
just
his
saying
job.
things, bro. Why you got,
Hey.
glitter in your mustache?
He has a
You.
mustache. Oh,
I'm monitoring levels, okay? Making
Does
sure
this-
Antone sounds crystal clear.
No, we need that.
yeah.
I
we
mean,
need that
it is
big
such a hard
turd.
topic, but that's what we're supposed to do is talk about the hard things because this world is lost. We're
Right.
all searching for the right answers and the guidance, and we're all afraid. It's an inherent thing for us to be afraid.
So,
But if we don't have these hard conversations, there's no answers that are going to be given by God because we're not asking the right questions.
I've talked to you, Kevin, about this a couple of times. We've obviously had a lot more heart-to-hearts after our podcast when it was just me and you, and it was perfectly fine before we brought in a producer that was like, well, let's wait 6 months before we put one out, and let me make an Bitmoji of myself talking.
Hey, it wasn't my
Did you
fault.
watch it, dude? It was funny.
I know, I saw it.
Well,
It's
it's
very
fine.
good, and I have to give you a hard time because that's what your role is here now. It's
That's right.
for us to vent,
Yeah.
take all our anger out on you.
Why do you still do it to me then, dude?
I'm not. I haven't all night tonight. I've been doing it to him.
Yeah,
That's why I'm here. I'm the target.
So, back to what I was going to say is there's, I'm married and there's 3, I don't know,
Dude,
single guys.
You're just rubbing it in at this
No,
point.
I'm not, because this is a really important question.
yeah, go
I've
ahead.
talked to you about it, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know what yours is, but there's 3 single guys in here.
we have the gift of singleness. Is that what you called it?
Exactly. So there's 1 out of 4 people that get married, and the rest have the gift of singleness. So
Those are pretty good odds,
I was, that's funny you said that, because when he said that, the gift of singleness, in my head, I was already going, 1 out of 4 have the gift, and I was going to go right at you, but I didn't attack you. I immediately attacked him.
Thank you.
So there we go.
I'll take it.
Thank you for tuning into Street Smart. No, but in a real level, okay, so you guys, let's just say, are in the dating pool. I'm including everybody because I don't even know I'm looking at you because I know what you're gonna do.
You always
So you guys
talk-
are you're out there in the dating pool, okay? And let's say that a nice young lady, Christian lady, finds each one of you guys, different ladies. I hope it's not the same one because that'll be a problem here. And you guys start dating. You go on a few dates, but then that topic comes up. And let's just say this potential is like, hey, I want to be a pastor, and that's what my goal is, and that's what I'm striving for, and I'm going to seminary because they allow that, and I'm going to get my doctorate, and I'm going to get this and that. What is the conversation for you guys? Because for me, I was blessed to not be confronted with that because everybody else I dated before my wife was way off in left field from the Christian world.
Right.
That wasn't a conversation. But then when I met my wife, I didn't have to, I wouldn't bring that up necessarily on a first date. Like, how do you feel about this? But she immediately was like, no, I know what my role is as a woman in the marriage. I'm going to tell you what to do, but you can do what you want in the ministry. You know what I mean? All jokes aside, it was an unspoken agreement of she knew, and which a lot of the ladies in our church know.
She's added
Your
so
mom
much to this,
knows
bro.
a lot,
Like
and yeah, for sure.
to
Your
us,
sister,
like it's crazy.
for everything. It's incredible what she has brought behind the scenes
This is unsung
and
heroes.
quietly. Yeah. But my question is for you guys is how do you approach that now?
You know what I would be curious as, like, if there was a woman trying to become a pastor, it'd be like, okay, well, how are you going to handle if you're reading that part of the Bible? You're reading those verses.
Oh, I just
and
don't
it's-
read it. Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's
Right.
telling you
Yeah.
black and white that, hey, this isn't the case. Yet
Right.
you're
And then she
pursuing
says,
it.
well, that was Paul. Paul was a chauvinist. He was,
Right.
He wasn't a fan of the girls. That was just Paul.
But
But I
then that
think-
goes back to like what we were saying.
Yeah.
Then it invalidates.
Exactly.
Invalidates the
Right.
whole Bible. Didn't,
Yep.
didn't you ask the next question? Do you really believe the Bible?
Because
And-
if you don't, then
Right.
obviously not.
So let's
Yeah,
say this
right.
isn't on the first date. This is you guys been dating for 6 months, and you're like, man, I really like. And then this comes up. How do you deal with that?
So I actually had that happen.
Okay,
Yep.
I've had that happen too,
dude,
bro.
this is why he is gonna be. That's why. Okay, Antone's a part of the team now.
Yeah, so I actually had that happen.
He was, bro.
I know that, but I wanted to say it on the internet.
say it
Thanks
now it's
for
official.
stealing my thunder. Thanks for stealing my thunder. All right.
but so I had that happen. And that wasn't the breaking point, but that was what was going to lead to the breaking point.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because that's one thing, my faith, I don't stray away from it. There's no bending, there's no compromising. I had somebody tell me, they would go, well, is it really so bad if they believe in that? I go, to me, yes, because that is, I'm looking at it, in the future. So my kids, I'm telling them one thing and their mom's telling them another. What's that going to do to them?
You're not equally yoked. Like,
No.
those kids are going to be
right.
just so
they're going to be lost
and lost even more in a lost world.
Right.
Dude. Like,
I mean, let's be honest. Trying to wrap your head around God and how He created the universe and every single cell, that's hard enough. And you can't. It says that in the Bible. You physically can't. But
that's to Job pretty clear.
Yes. And so then if you're adding another factor into that equation, then that'll only push your kids away from faith as a whole.
So how did that conversation go? I mean, without going into details, obviously you don't need to say names, or if you don't want to even answer that, like, like I said, I've had a very similar thing too. I mean, you have that conversation, and what I pointed to was like, well, 2 Timothy.
Yeah.
Like, because the person that I had that conversation with, Christian, believer in Christ, like, what is your take on this?
Yeah.
And then that's where it laid. It ended. I mean, it was like, it's a hard thing to grasp, even for me. Like, reading it, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
And it came up in my personal studies, and I'm just like, oh, I need to tell her about it.
Yep. That's what happened to me too.
Really?
I'm
like,
not even kidding. Yep.
Why, God? Why do I have to bring this up?
Yep. That's
like this. Everything's great right now. Everything's fine. Why do I have to do this? Like, but then it worked out. I mean, it's in His plan, right? So it was the same thing for you, right?
Yeah. I was reading through 1 Corinthians, and then I saw that, and I remember I tabbed it. And so then I tabbed it, and I go, I need to talk about this. So then I kind of brought it back up, and I said, hey, you remember, and kind of went about, and I said, this is why I believe what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then
your evidence.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Because, what better evidence than the Bible itself?
Yeah.
And so then I said, all right, this is why I believe what I believe. And it kind of like pondered for a little bit. And I didn't push it, because I feel like in a conversation like that, if you're trying to get, to a similar conclusion, you can't force it and be like, shove it down their throat, be like, yeah, this is how it goes. No, you have to, this is why I believe. And then you have to let them come to that conclusion. Then at that point, it's between them and God.
Yeah, dude. That's crazy. We had such similar things. I mean, it was kind of including what you were talking about with being at a church, and then they bring up a female pastor, and it's like, whoa. And then I instantly feel convicted to be like, okay, you need to study the verses in the Bible that talk about this. Like, they address this in your spiritual walk. And it's like, dude, it doesn't make it easier, but when you actually study it, man, then you're putting your heart into it.
Right.
That's where God will work. And sometimes it sucks. But it's for the best, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We have to have those hard conversations.
That's what if we don't have them, dude, we're all just going to continue to be lost.
Right.
Yeah. So, Brandon, what about your dating life?
Nice.
My bad, dude. I'm sorry.
Have you?
Sorry.
Are you like, for you, like how Adam talked about his previous relationships?
It was never.
Have you dated any girls that really are Christian or on fire for the faith? Have you dated any girls like that or no?
I guess more so like it came to light that they weren't believers, but they saw, who I am and what I was raised in and all this, and they became interested because I would talk to them about
a lot of ear candy.
Ear candy?
Yeah, a lot like eye candy, but they say things to you like, well, Brandon was raised in a Christian family. He has a little bit of faith, so I believe in Jesus.
I guess it wasn't.
My family used to go to church,
but it wasn't them trying to like fake that they were that or anything. Right. They were actually interested. Like, hey, maybe I ought to come to church with you, or maybe you could tell me more about that. Like they kind of became interested in it. But
for me, what it turned into was when I first got on fire for the Lord, and I was really on my faith walk. I had got out of a horrible relationship, so I thought, all right, I'm going to do it all for God now. I'm a Christian now. I'm a Christian.
Putting in all your chips for
Yeah.
Jesus.
So then girls would know that was my walk,
Yeah.
whether it be social media or whatever it was. And they would approach and say, hey, yeah, me too. And then infatuation would take over. And it's like, oh, man, yeah, I really like this girl. So then I would ignore scriptures like,
And for us guys, that is a
Timothy and-
huge thing.
oh, for sure. All those scriptures that every Christian man should be really pasting on their mirror in the bathroom, in their bedroom, above their headboard, whatever it is. I would be like, but Jesus forgives us all, right?
Right.
Like, I can be I can't lose my salvation. So, I accepted Christ. So tomorrow I'm going to ask him to forgive me because I made a mistake. And then it got ugly because that turns into this, that turns into that.
You make one exception for one thing, and it's downhill.
It's
Snowballs.
the whole
Snowball.
give an inch, take a mile. The whole thing.
Give an inch, take a tickle. Is that what you were about to say?
So then it was like, then you just wake up one day and you're like trying to have that conversation with God, and he's like, you've been ignoring me the whole time, so why should I listen to you? It's that feeling of,
yeah, you put yourself on the outside.
I've been listening to you the whole time, but you keep slapping me in the face. So
so
that
hard,
pain
bro.
and that guilt that you feel inside, I can take that away. However,
You got to turn.
it doesn't matter.
Turn from
Yeah.
your
Repentance
sin,
doesn't mean stop doing something. It means turn away and try to do better.
dude.
Knowing that you may stumble and do it again,
Mhm.
but try.
Right.
And then when you're not willing to try, that guilt just builds up just like a pile of sand in your gut.
Yeah.
And it gets heavier and heavier. And you're just like, I don't know why I'm depressed. I don't know why I feel this way. It has to be because of this, that, the other. And
Yeah.
it's not. It's God saying, are you ready to listen?
Right.
Because I've been smacking you in the back of the head this entire time. You keep wanting to talk to me when it's convenient for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard one of the greatest analogies to go along with that just the other
Yeah.
day.
No.
So it was talking about how, you're in a house, it's on fire, everything's going wrong, it's flooding, and just everything is going wrong. And
It's on fire and flooding in the same
Exactly.
time.
Talking
That's-
about
that's bad.
Heaven's mind right now.
So,
It's every day.
but then Jesus, he's at the door and he's knocking because he's a gentleman. So knocking, just waiting for you to come and answer the door. But then the devil in sin just crawls in through the windows, has their way, takes everything from you
Yeah.
until you decide, you know what? I'm going to go answer the door and let Jesus in and let him fix everything going on.
Yeah, because you're in there trying to patch a hole and it's filling up with water. And
Right. But then there's a fire.
You're like, dude, yeah. That's like that. That is a great analogy. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Really cool. I like that.
Just let him in, dude.
Just let him in. He's a
And
gentleman.
he won't stop knocking unless you like
What is
tell
that?
him like, that's the only way that you miss out on the free gift of salvation is you totally reject him.
What is
You know?
that saying? Like, do you have your house cleaned up enough that if Christ knocked on the door, you'd invite him in, or do you just cram everything in the closet at the last minute? Invite him in and hope he leaves soon so you can sort out your closet.
And see, that's such a negative way to accept Christ into your life, dude.
But I
It's-
can guarantee that everybody in here, including us, has a bunch of junk crammed in
yeah.
a closet that
Multiple
we
closets.
stuff in
I got
there.
quite a few closets.
So
I got a whole house in the closet.
6 days out of the week, we cram all this stuff in the closet. We finally get that door shut on Sunday. We come in here, we smile, we shake hands, we hug everybody, praise the Lord. How you doing? And then we get home, and on Sunday night, that door starts bulging. By Monday morning, all the basketballs, everything just falls out on the floor, and you go, how do I cram all this back into a closet?
Right.
Instead of
Yeah,
organizing it.
Dressing
So
it.
when we did the New Year's thing, I said that, instead of this scripted prayer that I do,
Mhm.
I don't know how your prayer life is or how you talk to Christ, but for so long, mine was so scripted. Like, scripted, I mean by when like
Almost like the
pastor
Lord's
in
Prayer
men's
kind of
Bible,
thing.
well, when
Not that far, but
like, but when like you go to a men's breakfast or a men's Bible study and pastor or somebody else says, "Hey, Antone, why don't you close this in prayer?" And you go, "Whoa, okay, Father God, I just want to thank you so much for this, and I hope that everybody has a good week and guide everybody home and grant us with wisdom." I know it did that last time,
you
but
hear
it doesn't
that?
show.
Mhm.
But that scripted
it does show up, dude.
It's in the pod.
Every single time it shows
Well,
up.
that's good because they think he's doing something. So, but do you know what I mean by a scripted prayer of
Right.
every time you pray out loud or you pray in front of a group of people, this is what I'm going to say.
Right. It's not
Thank you,
genuine.
God, or Father God, we love you so much. We just want to thank you for this, that, which is okay. That's good.
Yeah, it's not
But
saying
when
it's
you
bad,
wake up in the morning and you do the same thing, Father God, I thank you so much. I just pray that everybody gets to work on time and everybody has a good day and the weather's bad. I hope everybody makes it. Thank you for my wife, my kids, blah, blah, blah. End.
Mhm.
And then you're like, I prayed this morning. Why does my life suck?
Right.
And God's like, I don't know. Let's talk about it. I already did. I told everybody have a good day at work. So that's been my prayer life for a long time. Granted, the times that my life has not been going so good, and I'm like, God,
screaming up to the sky.
the typical like, if you do this for me, I promise I won't do this anymore.
If you get me out of this situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we talked about before the new year was how to change that up and talk to God more like he's a peer. He's not just a peer, he's God.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's above everything. But have a conversation with him like we're having a conversation right now. So in the mornings, obviously I get and I say, Father God, hey, we love you. I love you so much. But here's
Who are you praying for?
everybody, all
Like,
of you guys.
Do you
So I
have
can
multiple
stop that.
personalities, bro?
No, we love you. I'm talking about everybody
love
that's close to me.
Talks to the
You know
shadow
what? Fine.
people.
I'm going to stop praying.
Just kidding.
So when I talk to him, though, after I give God the flowers that he's due, I say, here's what I got going on. I am a mess. And in
Can you
detail,
explain to me what this flowers thing is?
that's giving your accolades. Giving, like the Matador and people throw their flowers because he did
Ooh,
good.
Dude, you know what matadors do?
Okay. We don't. All right.
Oh, no, I just, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt
However, now that conversation turns to talking out loud in my head sometimes and it's multiple times a day now, not just in the morning, but
you. Yeah, it's throughout the day.
man, I am hey, okay, God. And I always address like, God, okay. Before I went to FCA, I'm like, hey, God, here's the deal. I'm about to go and talk to these kids, but I'm a train wreck. How can I justifiably go talk to these kids when my life's a mess? Help me with wisdom and with discernment talk to these kids and not talk to them like I am better or have my stuff together, but talk to them like I've gone through the same thing. In the mornings, God, this was my issue yesterday. First thing this morning, help me clean up this gutter in my brain. I can't do it without you. That's the biggest thing that I've been trying to do this year is admitting that I can't
Give
do
it
it.
to him.
Yeah.
I cannot do it myself. I need your help. And then accepting the fact that when I go on throughout the day that he's not just going to flip a switch in my brain that says, well, you're not going to cuss anymore. He's going to put that voice in my head that says, really, do you need to say that?
It's that conviction
That goes there as the words are coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Or did you need to do that? Did you need to look at that? Did you need to do this? I'm here and I'm screaming at you in the back of your head, but you keep going, I know what's better. God, please help me not do this anymore.
People call that conscience, but that's God.
It is. It's
Right.
the Holy Spirit that's going,
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people, and I was guilty of this for a long time, and I've been working on changing it, but treat God like a genie.
Yeah.
oh,
But they
Magic
forget.
genie.
Yep. they forget it's a relationship. It's not a request form
No.
where it's like, all right, thank you. Okay, all right, this is what I need. And then
Mhm.
expect it. Psst. No, it's a relationship. You got to work on it with him.
Just give and take.
It's exactly. And it's kind of like, remember when the disciples were on the boat and they were in the middle of the storm and Jesus walked out and saved them? Well,
Sleeping. Or wait, no, yeah. This is when.
this
he
is
walked out.
when,
Yeah,
so this is when he was, he sent them out. He said, all right, go
I'll
out
meet
and-
you over there.
yep, I'm going to go on the mountain and pray. Well, he waited 8 hours to save them storm. And then he walked out and he's like, okay, come on. And then that's when Peter walked out.
Peter. Yeah.
Because Peter's like, well, if you're really Jesus, call me out to you. He's like, okay, come on. But before he did all of that, he waited 8 hours to let them go through the storm. And I think
And he was spending that 8 hours talking to his father.
talking
It's
in
like,
prayer,
bro.
and they were learning, they were going through it. Because
Mhm.
going back like the genie, we expect, all right, God, get me out of this rotten situation. Bam,
Mhm.
fixed. No, it's a process. And we have to, I think that helps us to appreciate his salvation and what he does for us, but then also appreciate the gifts, right? Because it's not instant. Bam. No, we have to work on it with him and we have to go through it with him.
Right.
And so then just like with the boat, he waited 8 hours for them to go through this horrible storm. They're rocking side to side. And then he's like, okay, now I'll save you.
Mhm.
After you went through it and after you're working through it, now we'll do it together.
Because he was trying to teach you something
Exactly.
through that.
See, and
whole
that's the beauty of going through trials and having Christ,
Mm-hmm.
because there's the key word, going through. Everybody wants to get out of it. They don't want to have to go through it, but you have to go through it to become stronger.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know what I
And,
mean? And that everybody wants the quick fix and like, hey, can I just get out of this?
You know,
Right.
and that's
But no, dude, you're not going to learn nothing. You get out of it,
Right.
Because it's still going to be there, and you may not cross that path now, but one day you will. You better pray that Christ is with you to get you through it.
Right.
you know, and that's a big thing now when I talk and listen to younger guys, younger than me, that want the relationship stuff right now.
Mhm.
Why isn't this happening for me right now? Why am I running through all these speed bumps, which is right where I was?
Yeah, you've been there. Yeah.
But, and this is not saying this is going to be the same for all of you guys, but I was 37 years old. And I was in a lot of relationships that lasted a lot of years that were nightmares.
Yeah.
And now I'm blessed with a wonderful wife and a wonderful situation. And now I have younger guys going like, whoa, good for you. Why isn't that happening for me? And I'm like, dude,
You're like, you didn't know the road that it took
go
to get
through
here.
it. Wrap yourself in barbed wire and then get dragged down the road
Mhm.
in an emotional roller coaster from hell.
If
Jesus made him wait 8 hours.
right.
God made me wait 37 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to go through these lessons, but I didn't want to
Bro,
listen.
you were sitting in the waiting room, in God's waiting room, and they like called your number like 100 times ago, bro.
And
You're
I'm
sitting there
like-
waiting, like, oh wait, they already called this number.
And I'm just like, you know, going through this nightmare
Yeah,
because
I've been there
God's
so
like,
many times too,
are
bro.
you gonna listen? Are you gonna listen? Are you gonna listen? And then I'm like, I'm a Christian now. You're not listening though.
Yeah,
Anybody can call themselves a Christian. Anybody can call themselves anything.
hmm
But until you put in the work, you're not that. Anybody can be on a job site and say they're the boss. But until you put in the work, nobody's going to respect you.
Right. Well, and kind of building off like what you were saying, you know, you have to go through it. And so we look at problems and we go, oh gosh, how can I get out of it?
yeah,
And we're looking at it with a bad attitude with, oh, this is a bad day.
yeah.
But if we change it, and I'm super guilty, I'm
Oh,
very
yeah,
guilty of
me
this.
too,
But if we
100%.
look at it with the attitude of, okay, what can I learn from this? What's
Mhm.
God trying to teach me? And then how can I use this to help other people? Right? So for instance, you were talking about it took 37 years to find your wife. And so now you're going to be able to help younger men with their relationships and go, oh no, that's not good. I've been there, done that. You don't want to,
Mhm.
right? Or no, now you're on the right path. This is
Right.
kind of, now you have that to serve other people. And
Don't look at me, bro.
it's just it's interesting. It's all about perspective. And we have, as humans,
There
naturally
really isn't
bad perspective.
even you guys too. I mean, we're all young.
Mhm.
Adam. But like it's you don't have to get to a certain age to be like, oh yeah, no, I've been through that, too. It's like your age doesn't determine the situations you've been through.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, you could be a child and go through the worst thing ever.
Right.
There's
You
high
know?
school kids right now that have been through so much more.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
That
it's
I've been
it's
through.
one of those things where, and if they take that mindset and they find Christ, because Christ, I think, is the one that cultivates a mindset like that. You
Yeah.
can't cultivate that on your own,
No.
dude, because you're just going to be like, it just doesn't work. Christ will tell you like, hey, I got you.
Right.
You are in my hands. This
That's-
sucks. I know, but we're going to get through it and you're going to be stronger for it.
So that's a lot of the videos that I've been putting out. I know Antone watches it. You guys probably don't, but
I-
fine.
I see him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't like or subscribe or
It
share.
already is.
He.
Yeah, I can't because I don't have a social media. to
I
do it
know
with,
that.
bro.
I know that. So, a lot of it is who's in your corner, and who better to be in your corner than Christ?
Yeah, that's the only
Like
person
he's
you want.
he's
dude.
got your back.
I mean, then brothers
more-
too. We've talked about
Well,
that.
yeah,
many
your
times.
brothers, but Christ has got your back more than even your brothers do.
Yeah,
Your best friend doesn't have your back more than Christ does.
Right.
Because you can do your best friend so dirty, and they're like, for a while, I'm going to take a break from you.
Right.
Christ never did. You can drag him through the mud, and he's like, I still got your back. You
Gosh,
can.
dude, that's what just it makes me feel
so bad. I mean, when you go home and you lay down and you're like,
bro,
just the things, just the guilty shame
Yeah,
of the
dude.
day-to-day life and the things that we think about, which Christ, first off, doesn't want you to feel that way.
no, that he died. So
He
that
wants you to
we
go
don't
to
feel that
bed,
guilt.
lay your head on a pillow of clouds and go, he wants you to recognize that you
Oh,
are a
yeah.
knucklehead,
Mhm.
but he doesn't want you to feel bad for it.
Right.
He just wants you to recognize that that's what you're doing. And when you wake up the next day, try not to do it again.
Mhm.
But he knows that you're going to wake up every day and do it again and again and again and again and again. And that's why God from the Old Testament was like, man, these guys are not getting. I've turned people into pillars of salt. I've destroyed nations. I've flooded the earth. I've done everything. And they're still not getting it. I narrowed it down to like, what, 6 people?
Yep.
They procreated and they still don't get it. How can I fix this? I don't know. Maybe, well, I got to become human and come down and experience it for myself. So he comes down, he does it, and he does it perfectly, but he looks at everybody around him and he's like, I guess they're just not going to get it. I'm the only one. Dies the most horrific death.
Betrayed by his friends,
Yeah, he already knew that was going to happen.
bro.
Like before he even became man, he knew
He knew.
that by 33, he didn't even get to make it to 65, 80, no, 33 years. He's like, oh man, I only get that long. And he dies a horrific death to
Mhm.
forgive us knuckleheads that get to live 100 years and go, even on our deathbed at 100 years, walking life with Christ, laying in your deathbed, and a nurse comes and you're like, dang, I wish I could. Christ is like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
Are you kidding
We're
me?
almost there, man.
But he's not going to send you to hell.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, you prayed, and then the girl came in, and you're like, hey, dang. That's why he hung on a cross, because we can't get it together.
Right.
And it's not just us guys, women the same way.
Yeah.
He went through hell so we didn't have to.
Exactly. Through the worst part of it, he took everything that we deserve just for doing the littlest thing.
Mhm.
Right.
He took it. Serial killers have accepted Christ. One of the very first sermons that Rick ever preached not that he ever
Caught your
preached,
attention.
but I caught my attention when he was like, "Well, I can't wait to get to heaven and meet Ted Bundy." What?
Right.
You said what?
I mean, it goes back to Paul.
What church? Yeah, but I was
You
so
know?
wet behind the ears, I didn't
Mhm.
understand
You didn't,
that.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was just sitting back in the back of it, and he's like, I know that for sure when I get to heaven, I'm going to meet Ted Bundy. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the right church because I don't think our heavens are the same.
Yeah.
Like, are you? I don't know if you're teaching us to go to the right heaven. Then he explained it, and he said that they had a bit of a men's conference here at the church where they got all the guys together and they watched a documentary on Ted Bundy and his conversion in prison.
They watched that in the Bible study?
It wasn't Bible. I think it was a like movie night, but they're like, hey, all the guys come and watch this.
Bro, that thing's about to break.
It probably will, and that'll be gold.
That'll be something we clip and
I'll fall out
He's
of a
done
chair
it before,
again.
and it was probably my most favorite podcast.
So,
ever. He's like, he fell in slow motion. He's like, oh no.
so then he said that, and I started watching different Ted Bundy documentaries.
Oh, really?
None of them were about his conversion.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
And you're like, where am
so
I?
yeah, all I knew was he was a serial killer in the 70s, and then I'm like, he's where?
This the same guy Rick was
Like,
talking about?
what? And then I finally found one where it kind of talked about it. And I'm like, okay, well then I'm so wet behind the ears of my faith that now I'm going to tell all my friends that it's no matter how bad you messed up, you can, And then I bring up Ted Bundy, and they're like, whoa.
Like you've gone
No,
off the deep
like
end,
yeah,
bud.
they're like no, and then that snowballed into. So you're telling me child molesters and rapists and this and this and that, they're in heaven? They can get. I said I didn't say they're all going to heaven. I'm just saying that they got an opportunity to change that life around, and it doesn't matter whether it's 1 year, 1 minute, 1 second before they accept Christ.
It's a
That's
heart,
it.
Heart relationship.
The
thing,
thief on the cross never been to church.
Right.
We don't know what he did to get to that cross,
to be crucified. Yeah, like the
We
worst
don't know
punishment
what he.
at the time.
Yeah,
But he believed.
yeah, it wasn't like
he didn't. It was within moments.
Mhm.
He was like, the one thief was like, if you tell your angels to come get you off the cross. Like, look at this joker, haha. And the other guy was like, hey man, I don't know what's going on right now, but could you remember me?
Right.
When you get in, and he's like, hey,
You'll be with
I
me.
tell you today, we will. Can you imagine that? All the prophets, everybody that's in heaven before Christ. And they're like, all right, lay out the red carpet. Here he comes. Here he comes. Dun, 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 dun. And he shows up with this guy, this bum that he's like, hey, here comes Jesus. And they're like, yay, Jesus, yeah, you're here. You did a perfect life. And then here comes this dude like, they're like, hey, what's your name?
Terry.
My name is Jeff. And they're like, wow, what'd you do? I don't know. Where'd you go to church? What is that? Where were you baptized? I don't know. How did you get here? That's a good question. I asked that guy,
Yeah.
and here I am.
right. Well, that's the thing. When he said, "Remember me in your kingdom," Jesus didn't go, "Sure, but first you got to do this. You got to get baptized. You got to give to the poor. You got to go to church.
He
You got
didn't
to
even recite the sinner's prayer. These churches that are like, you have to pray this, and then you're saved.
Yeah,
There
look
was
at, look
no
at that. That
sinner's
right
prayer.
there should stomp out all the division we have with splitting hairs in the Bible. I
Mhm.
mean, so many different denominations, so many different
However,
beliefs. You have to be baptized. You have to
no, you don't.
say 3 Hail Mary, whatever it is, dude. And it's
Right.
like, no, it is literally Christ.
However, I do believe that baptism is
It's not bad.
necessary when you can make that decision. It's not going to save you. However, it shows everybody around you that this
That
is
you're serious about
an
this.
inward change that I'm showing everybody on the outside.
And that right there could help someone else.
Exactly. That's what that's for.
Like, we're
now,
supposed
the
to
sinner's
help each
prayer.
other.
Do you need to pray the sinner's prayer to be saved? No. However, is that something that maybe you should go over in your own head
Right.
to tell Christ, I need your help? Remember me?
Right.
When, all that stuff. Brandon just started recording himself just now.
Like, we got AI Brandon for this one too.
But that's pretty incredible. That's all you got to do.
I know. Yeah. It's beautiful, man.
It doesn't take any kind of magic potion or magic water,
Right?
Or any kind of
Snake oil.
scripted stuff. Yeah.
Right.
You gotta do is say, hey, man.
Nothing.
I think even in Corinthians, Paul talks about reciting prayers mindlessly.
Yeah. You get into a routine. I mean,
Bad habits.
it's like we were talking about before the mics were on. I mean, it's like we are prone to cycles, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. It's
Exactly.
you know what to expect.
Well, and you
You know
listen
what I
to
mean?
people. I mean, everybody you listen to in all these Bible studies in church and everything, it always starts the same way, X, Y, Z. Father God, we love you so much.
Yeah, it turns into a
This.
checklist, bro.
And then it's just that checklist. Everywhere you go, and then you get into a men's breakfast or something, and somebody every now and then says a prayer, and you're like, where'd you learn that one?
Even know you could
Shoot
pray.
from
I
the
like
wish
that.
I would have known. Yeah, shooting from the hip.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to incorporate. But the thing of it is, I shoot from the hip when I think nobody else knows what I know. I preached funerals,
Bible bullets.
did this and that, and I'm like, bang, I'm shooting from the hip. I never. And then I get into a church setting where I know guys know what they're talking
you're like,
about, and I'm like, I gotta impress these guys.
Yeah, you get in your own head.
Even your dad comes.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard him pray at men's breakfast, and I'm like, dang, you must have practiced that all the way here with these big words, and then I pray, and I'm like,
shout out to your dad, dude. Me and him
Yeah.
have had some
he
great
is
conversations.
the
He's such a good
nicest guy.
Yeah, he's pretty stellar when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
Bible and his faith. It's fun to just like randomly start a conversation. Like, so Dad, what do you think of?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll
Right.
just
He
like
gets
listen.
into it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
I never met my dad. I don't know.
Wow, curveball.
I have a dad. Not
Yeah.
my real one.
So no more about dads.
Well, my father is Jesus.
hey, exactly,
Yeah.
dude.
There you go.
Exactly. There we go. We all feel better now.
Yeah, dude. we
So
don't
when you
need
guys
no-
go home and face to face talk to your dad, I'm gonna close
and
my
the
eyes and
podcast
pray.
is over.
That was street smart. No. That's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, for sure. No, this is great, guys. I had fun.
This is why when he proposed the question,
Mm-hmm.
out of
We went all over the place. but-
5,000 people that subscribe to
Yeah.
all across the board, and on Snapchat, I'm like,
I think we maybe will get more interaction, and we love you guys.
we have
we
with guests.
we want you guys to just
Here's the thing: Street Smart is growing. Our ministry is growing, right? Yo, appreciate everybody. Tell
Hey
them.
man, I mean, it's fine. If you
No,
don't
but-
appreciate them, you can just say it. Okay.
No, what I wanted to say is this started out with an idea that I had. And by the grace of God, Kevin came to an Easter cantata to sing in the choir. That's how we got to know each other. And then what happened?
Beautiful, meet cute.
Then what happened?
Lots of things, stuff and things and stuff.
We had podcasts in common. And I said, I want to start one, and you wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
You've been here. But now look,
Yeah, our final episode, dude.
This is the last episode ever, guys. Thank you so much.
No, I'm pretty sure mean, we went over a hard topic.
Yeah.
That was a tough topic, but I think we addressed it.
But we went over
as a house. I mean, that's tough, dude.
and we went over it so smooth without having to
As
stumble.
far as we think.
Well, yeah, but we didn't.
As soon as
like,
this is aired, bro.
the first time me and you talked about this on the podcast, it was a lot of like stumbling on, because it was me and you talking about how we felt about it. We didn't have any other perspective.
Mhm.
And it came from a source of we were being presented with that at the time. I think you were being presented with it.
Mhm.
And we're like, how do we address this?
Yeah.
With very little. We studied it. We sent each other videos and stuff. And we were more or less going over the perspective of everybody else. And we're like, well, this is what it says. So that must be what it is.
Right.
We didn't have a group to bounce ideas off of.
Mhm.
And so this felt more comfortable because it's just not me and Kevin talking about it. And like, well, yeah, you're right, whatever. Now we can say, what do you think? And challenge a little bit of what we think
Yeah.
maybe.
Because if you're going to talk about it.
Be about. So Kevin just ended the podcast. But no.
No, because you didn't do it right.
I love it was like a reflex though. You just be about
Yeah.
oh wait, no, not yet.
No, but I mean, that's super important, especially when you're interpreting the Bible, because Jesus spoke in metaphors.
Yeah.
He wasn't straightforward, so that way it is more applicable. And then I think then it initiates fellowship because it is so
Mhm.
important.
Because he wants us to have the conversations about it.
Yeah.
And grow closer to him.
He was very direct about a few things, such as I'm the way, the truth, and the light, right? Like, I'm the one way to heaven, and love your neighbor. Everything else was in metaphors. And I
Mhm.
not think it was intentional. So
Yeah.
that way
Oh,
he
yeah.
could,
That's awesome.
it initiates these conversations because they are so important.
Mhm. Sure, dude.
And I think the other thing that I really liked about this is that you and I aren't so focused on, we're not sure what to do with our hands. Do we look at the camera? Do we look at each other? Where this felt more like we're just standing around talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the essence of what we wanted to bring
Yeah.
to this podcast was this is just there, but we're having a conversation. And it was a lot easier to have you guys, even though Brandon really didn't say anything. He didn't do anything.
I was
He just
absorbing
like,
it all.
I brought my microphone. I'll bring more microphones. Can we have the microphones from the church? What do you
I like this microphone. I think it's pretty cool.
I like the red cable.
Yeah.
Hey,
Why
It
do
did
you
its
have a
job.
blue one and a red one? We get
We don't
Kmart.
have. We have black ones.
It's a power
So-
move.
Black's cool too, bro.
It's a
the
power move.
newest people to the podcast have these expensive microphones, and we still got Kmart microphones.
Bro.
That's a $300 microphone. It's just that color and not that color. Because your brother was like, "Does it have phantom power?"
yeah.
What does that mean?
You guys aren't phantoms yet.
Does that have phantom power? What does that
We don't
mean?
have phantom power.
These have,
we have
extra electricity.
I don't need a ghost. The only ghost I need is
Extra
the Holy
juice.
Spirit.
we
right?
have
Not
blue
phantoms.
light
Ooh.
special power.
How much longer do we want to go on this podcast?
I don't know why. What's going on?
I'm going to say, because I have another topic to talk about.
You
Do have
can bring it
another
up.
question, bro?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's hear it.
What do you think about ghosts?
Phantom. The Phantom Menace.
Here we go.
I think there's spirits. If just like we have a spirit,
And we just lost everybody. The greatest podcast we ever recorded just got everybody to put unsubscribe.
we're angels, right?
I think, because I've thought about this a
didn't get
lot.
to
I've talked
study
about it
this.
a lot, right? My mom's super into the ghost shows. Mom and dad
Really?
both are. Oh, yeah. They're going on
Okay.
a ghost
This makes
hunt
sense.
tour deal
Okay.
sometime.
Dude, I've been on those.
Yeah, see?
I never
They're going
have.
on one of those. So,
We need to have.
Ghosts.
Okay, we need to save this
Yeah, no.
because
so
I have a belief and I have a very strong statement about
So-
it.
me too. Yep.
So that's going to be our next one, and I think that's going to be a little bit more.
yeah,
exciting.
so and I'll go with this. Is it's funny that we're even bringing this up because on our Street Smart Facebook page, there's a lot of Christian sites that go through and they have guess, memes or whatever, where they put words above it, and there's these people sitting around the table. I guess you would like a medium
Seance.
sitting there, and they're all holding hands, and it said, "There's no such thing. There's no such thing as the dead communicating or whatever, ghosts communicating or whatever. There's only demons."
That's what I believe.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it was a
I've
cartoon picture of
experienced it,
everybody
bro.
holding it, and that's crazy. We're talking, but there ghosts here right now. But no, there was everybody holding
touch me.
hands, and it was like, because we watch the movies, we've all seen them. People communicate, and the ghost shows like, if you're here, make yourself present. And they're like, you hear it in the background like a little, and they're like, oh, Hank's
I
here.
swear that wasn't a cat.
Yeah, and it was, and but the caption of it, of this Christian site, they obviously put in their own caption. It was like, "There's no such thing as communicating with the dead, or whatever, talking to the dead. There's only demons to make you think that you're communicating with the dead."
Also had things. Oh,
Yep.
I've also had other things. So maybe, yeah. No, we need to save that, dude.
So-
That
Okay.
can be a whole.
But
That's a good
so
one.
here's my proposal, and I don't know what everybody's schedule is, and especially yours, Antone, being a strapping
don't do
young
it on
lad.
live, bro.
But do you want to come back?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, dude.
Be a
we need
part
to
of
have
it.
me
We,
back.
we
I'd
would
love
love to have you. We've already talked about it. Like Kevin's like, we already said that. We'd love to have you as a part of Street Smart. You articulate
So you
well
need to
with the
sign
kids
here, please.
Why does it say?
because
sign my
whatever
wife
you're
away?
being paid at your job. Like, we haven't even invited Brandon. Like, he just shows up.
You've told him a bunch of times, bro.
But you're like, I don't even know why you talk to him.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Invited
I
me
never
what?
said that.
To the podcast?
See? Whatever,
That's
dude.
the only invites I've ever gotten.
What?
Why can't I realize? This is why you're just a, whatever that cartoon character. you are.
Memoji?
Emoji.
Memoji.
Memoji?
Memoji.
Memoji?
No, we would love to have you back. This was a great conversation. This is one of my top conversations.
Yeah.
Everything besides that was just a bunch of words. Nothing else mattered to me until tonight.
This is the only conversation you've ever had.
Your
That
whole
mattered.
life?
Other than that, it's just like, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff that I feel, and then whatever else, like, just let it go.
Anton, you're the catalyst for good conversations.
No.
Thank
It's great to have you here.
Yeah,
Now we
dude,
have to
there's-
get another microphone, because if we have another guest, then there's
God
just-
provides everything, bro. We're
he
good,
does,
dude.
he does, and it's been coming to fruition. Me and
Mhm.
Kevin been working at this, and we've been very passionate about this. We've made it a priority, and we just like getting it out there
Yeah.
and putting it out. Kevin listens to the whole podcast. I don't, so
Only sometimes.
I have now since the new year, or since Meredith's episode.
Have you listened to
Really?
any of them, dude?
I have. I listened to them
Oh,
today.
Which
man.
one's your favorite that you've listened to?
I listened to one today, and so
Okay.
that was,
We just invited you to be a part of the team, and you're like, you guys been doing this for 2 years, but I listened to one today, and I listened to one Snapchat because whatever, he sent me a friend
I'm
request.
surprised you still came after that.
yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I want to be a part of this Street Smart Christian. What if you would have listened? We're like, you know what? This Christianity is a bunch of
No, never, dude. Man.
no. We're growing. We're learning.
Yeah.
Like I said, Kevin and I started with we had just a web camera that sat on top of the computer.
I feel like
for
we
a
used a
while.
laptop a couple times. Too.
Well, we were up there. We didn't even have a laptop. We didn't have a laptop until I bought this one.
Yeah.
You guys have come so far. Look at it now.
Dude, you're not getting any accolades by saying how far we come, because you're lying.
Well, look.
You want to say, you guys, this is why I'm
No.
here, because you guys suck so bad.
started with
You're
2,
like,
and now
I
there's
would like
4.
to amplify
that's
you
true,
guys, because
dude.
you can't even hear you guys on the internet. You're just like, hey,
Wherever two gather, he'll be there in his name.
Right.
it's growing. No, Brandon, like I said, we like to because we usually trash each other, and we haven't as much now because you're here.
I'm the little brother now.
Yeah.
But now we have an
And
even
we
littler
appreciate
brother.
it. And when you didn't show up, and we were really, really going hard after you, I felt bad, and that's why I was like, he's gonna edit this. So sorry, Brandon. Now Antone's here. So,
Right. Get ready. Antone.
but how do you bash somebody so well versed and spoken?
Oh, he'll get his time, dude.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
But Antone,
It'll
if you-
come out.
I know that you have a lot going on. You are in flight school.
Yeah, is there anything you want to plug before we close it? Close it out? Anything? What's going on in your life?
What's going on?
When's your next show? Or when are you flying us to Vegas?
Show. He's not a stand-up comedian.
You can
Yeah,
find me
you just
Broadway.
wanted to segue, like, when are you going to fly us to places? Like, we want you to be a part of this ministry because we know you're smart enough to get a pilot's license and we're dumb enough to get on the plane. So let's go.
Do a show in the air.
Yeah, dude, on the air.
Oh wow.
You guys.
Podcast with the air.
I'll do it from the ground, and then we'll
You're
just
afraid
like,
of flying, dude?
No, I'm not.
Just because of that, what happened this last weekend? Alaska.
The door flew off.
Alaskan planes.
Door came off.
Nobody died. Thank God. Some poor little kid was sitting there and his shirt got ripped off him.
Wow.
Imagine that, dude. I guess the mom was like holding him in. His shirt got ripped off, and then little kid.
No,
he's
I-
flying.
I,
Is that crazy, dude?
Jeez.
Sounds like a movie.
I'm hoping that
real life.
Antone is the next Sully, you know.
I hope I don't experience anything like that. I'll
I
be
hope
prepared
not
for
either,
it.
but if we're on a plane with you and the
Yeah.
engines go out, you land us in the water safely.
What was the one with Denzel?
Well, Antone, don't be that pilot.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah,
be
you know
that
what movie I'm
pilot.
talking about?
I've heard of it. I had some coworkers tell me about
Don't
it.
watch that movie. If you become that pilot, then we have to have another conversation about you being on this podcast because you're waking up in hotel rooms doing things that are not pleasing to the Lord. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Even though in a pinch you saved the flight, but
I'm pretty sure he still went to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
But thank you, everybody,
Yeah.
for
Thanks,
this
guys.
conversation. That was great. I'm glad that I saved that topic for tonight. We can all discuss it because not one of us is going to the gallows. All of us are. And
In the name of Christ, I'll go anywhere, man.
yeah, remember me, Lord, when you enter your kingdom. And if y'all are going to talk about it,
You gotta be about it.
It
Wasn't
go.
did you hear how he said it? You got
Be
to
about
Sorry.
Good, dude. That was
You've
good.
got to be about it. What do you want?
No,
What do you
dude.
want from me?
Do a different
You
accent.
gotta be about it.
Give us your best be about it. If you're going to talk about it,
Got to be about it.